curious here. Advice. You've coached minor hockey, you've coached minor sports in high school. What advice would you have for coaches of younger players, younger athletes, learning to coach um, and trying to become elite coaches? And by that, I mean working with the best as of young players.
I think it's a very good question, Wal, and I'm going to answer it if I can quite simply. Don't get too enamored with techniques, tactics, and those kind of things. Yes, you have to know the game. Yes, you have to be able to help the kids, the boys and girls, become better players. But you're working with people. They're going to make mistakes. What you have to do is help them as much as you can, have fun, and make sure they're having fun as much as you can. And if you do that, you'll get more accomplished. If you think you have to become a tactical wizard, you don't. The game is not that complicated for kids to play. Keep it simple, make sure it's fun, and smile. Smile lots and have fun. And just enjoy, make sure you enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, I'm sure the kids aren't enjoying it. And so I think it's really important that those are fundamental things. For children to go on and want to play the game, they have to learn to love the game. To learn to love the game, they have to have fun doing it. So that's your job. Your job is not a job, but your role is to help them have fun and help them learn, but make sure it's a balance. Make sure that you see the big picture all the time. Scoreboard means only something to the parents usually. To the kids, sometimes it does, but it depends upon the level. But, again, keep it fun as much as you can, and don't get too scientific.
Just a question for everyone on board. How do you, the challenge is the focus on outcomes. If you're not winning, well, you're not good enough as a coach, and the pressure is on. And how do you deal with that? Because I know when things are going well, everybody's happy. And if you're not winning, they're not happy. And happiness seems to depend on winning. And I think that there's a process to being able to win. But how do you get people to stay with the process as a team? And I don't mean just the players and coaching staff. I mean the parents. Anybody?
Well, I'll venture into that to start it off for us. I've always felt the hardest part about coaching is when the parents are driving home with their child, because I don't know what they're saying, but I'm sure sometimes they're not saying nice things. So they're implanting ideas in their child that you're some kind of a fool at times. But that's coaching. I mean, parents are you're dealing with their most valued possession, their children. And so even people with common sense can lose it. Coaching kids must be the most difficult part of coaching. I think when you coach adults, it's easier than it is coaching kids. And all you can do is try to, we all know, the preseason meeting with the parents, ice times, all those things. Just being smart, always having a smile on your face, things like that. Even if you don't feel that way, get the smile on your face. I think you have to try to deal with a very difficult situation. I don't know if you can really feel like you've ever got total support from the parents, because it's just the way the game is. And you have to deal with that and not feel bad about it. Somebody else help me. I'm drowning here. Okay.
Sammy, have you got
I think I specifically choose to coach U9 and adults because it is glorious at both of those levels. Yeah. And specifically U9, I do a lot of house league, and I find the house league system in this country, maybe in North America, is so neglected. And that's where all the fun is. That's where all the majority of players are. That's where your future rec leagues are. That's where all the coaches come from, the refs come from. And that's where all the joy is too. So I highly recommend any coach that is coaching at the elite level to also dabble in some house league, because it just brings you so much joy. And then on the reverse side, coaching adults, I mean, then you're just dealing with that person. You don't have to deal with it as many outside influences, because they are able to process a lot more. Although, as Thomas said, there's a lot more going on in their worlds too now. But yeah, try to find the joy as coaches, because you're right. There's a lot of things that can get you down. All those turkeys can get you down, but you got to soar with the eagles sometimes, and sometimes those are in house league.
I would love to jump in on this, and I was laughing this whole time because, as Wally knows, I coached U18 AAA in Calgary before going to law school, and I had some very interesting experiences with coaching with one of my coach mentors, Jordan, and we had some very over-involved parents, and which was totally different from how I played when I played U18 AAA. My parents were like, this is your job. If you have a problem, you deal with it. And it was like, yes, ma'am. And then I would go, liaise with the coach. It was not like that in any capacity. And I think almost naively, I had to kind of figure out how to draw boundaries with the parents. And going into the second season, that became a lot more important about drawing boundaries. What are parents, because the best way to, or I guess there's kind of two sides of that spectrum. The best way to alienate your coach or your parents on the team is to either set such strict boundaries that you don't get to talk to us ever, or to have no boundaries and they get to talk to you whenever, however they want to. And so finding that middle ground is difficult. But, we had times just, and again, to another point where we were at the Notre Dame tournament and I was working with this one defenseman, and we had been working so much on foot speed, and she would continuously do crossovers that would take her out of position instead of just C-cup push back to get herself kind of out of trouble if she needed to. And I kept going, why is she still doing this? We're teaching it. Well, she told me later on at the Notre Dame tournament that her parents would tell her every day in the car to not listen to what Coach Laura was telling her to do. And when we got to the Notre Dame tournament, she was beat every single time by these more elite players. And I just remember going, I cannot control for the life of me the ride home, but I can try to hammer into the the kid's brain, again, coming back to the why. This is why we're doing this, right? And then that's where the video became really important. Not showing her necessarily only the times where she was being beat, but when she was successful in this situations that we were trying to kind of teach her. Interestingly, I have asked to be a part of just the Saskatchewan Minor Hockey League this year, and I haven't coached outside of very elite levels in a long time. And I said, do you have any space for just a coach? I don't want to coach elite. I don't want to do anything like that. I'm in law school, so I don't have that much time, and I don't want to be a head coach. And so now I'm coaching a U15 team, and I am having so much fun. It is the most fun I've had in so many years coaching. But I will also say, interestingly, it's a lot of, I've had to do a lot of recalibration of my drills. Working at the elite level, coaching in the elite level, I can copy and paste all my drills because my drop off of skill is like this, right? Well, house league, my drop off of skill is this. I have girls that were on the cusp of making their AA team, and I have girls on the cusp of making their lowest level team in the league. Well, now I actually have to put effort into making sure every kid is getting something out of my drills. Because the things that I've been able to use for however many years, 8-9 years, doesn't work for these girls. Pieces of them do. But so it's been a really interesting thing. And I've actually had to coach a lot more, or use my coaching brain a lot more to say, like, okay, how am I doing this so that we're making everybody on the ice better, given the discrepancy and disparity in skill level. And then also the joy of, coaching with dads, hockey dads who have never, seen an elite stream ever, and are very much in the telling kids what to do, and, still very intensely coaching and, just trying to also get them to kind of think about these concepts that we've been talking about, Wally, for so many years. But I think it's been definitely an interesting and really fulfilling kind of recalibration of my coaching to go back into house. So Sammy, I'm on the same page as you. If you ever burnt out at those elite levels, try going into community for a bit, see how that is. And just because it really makes you have to kind of rethink your coaching kind of abilities and the way you deliver your drills and the way you deliver your messages. And it's kind of fun.
Tom, your speaker.
Yeah, we're in a league, and I'm coaching a team they added to the league, so it's an elite, U15 provincial league. And of course, about the bottom third of our team wasn't good enough for this league. So playing the top teams, we'd lost about 4 in a row or something. So all of a sudden the clause came out with the parents and all this sort of thing. And so I tried something I'd never done before. About 2 Sundays ago, I had all the parents come in the dressing room after practice. And I took my little magnetic board out and I went through everything we do, as far as team play goes, like our D zone and our forecheck and all this kind of stuff. And I had the feeling they really appreciated it. And it's been much more positive ever since that happened. And I'd never done that before. But I think I talked to them on a level that gave them some respect. And a lot of the mothers really appreciated it because they had no clue. They hadn't really played the game. And, and it really worked well. So I think it's a pretty good thing to do with your team because the parents they're paying a lot of money and they really don't like to lose.
Tom, how many dads were in that audience?
It was 3/4 dads.
Okay. Like I'm finding that there are a lot of dads that have good experience, and a lot of their opinions are, very sound and they make sense, but it's just a matter of interfering with what the coach is doing. And I think your meeting, and I, in fact, might advocate that at our 2 arenas at ECTAS, where there's the boardroom, that the parent meeting be actually scheduled to do this, exactly what you've done early in the season, midpoint, and they want to know, they want to be heard, and they need to hear you and what you're doing in your thinking process because they just have no idea of the expertise of the coaching staffs, and particularly, in your case, Tom, with Cassie working with you and your son, who's also a lawyer, working with you for a number of years, that you've forgotten more than most people know. But the being able to gain respect of the parent group, coaches, and my role as a mentor was hopefully to bridge the communication gap to create a relationship of trust and respect. And I think for the most part, it's happened with a couple of teams. There still are some zealous parents, highly motivated parents that don't understand the process and the time and effort that coaches today put in to their craft. It's a lot more than I ever did as a young coach. So I think it gets down to trust and respect in your organization, within your team, and remembering your team is what it is like in the business of hockey and who's included in that and who's involved directly, and in community hockey and elite community hockey. It's the idea of teamwork. You're all on the same team and the kids want the best possible experience to be the best they can be. and they're going to learn from that and go away from the game better people. So keep up the good work, Tom, and hang in there. So, Thomas, we got into a minor hockey stream here, and you're up at the highest level. How do you separate, or can you, the fact that the business of hockey is what drives the sport, and it occupies the minds of parents watching games, and it's the model. You know, the changing of coaches, the replacement of coaches, the trading of players, and the management of the bench to double shift your best players on PP and PK, and balancing the ice time so they're happy and feel good about themselves. How do you do that? How do you separate minor hockey from professional hockey?
I don't have a good answer for you. I don't know. I feel like what has worked for me in the past is having strong set of values and share those values with the team and, if possible, with the parents, as Tom was indicating. And having the values as something that we are striving for, and not so much the wins and the losses. And by living to whatever those values are, whether it's hard work and honesty and being inspirational, being relentless, resilient, no matter what, having fun, be creative, whatever those values are, anybody can, set them for themselves. But if you are striving for something that you can do no matter what, whether it's losing, winning, having a good game, having a bad game, then I think you can strive for something that you can accomplish every single day. And you can strive for satisfaction of those values. And the winning, hopefully, is a byproduct. So you're not aiming at winning, you're aiming at those values that you as a team have set. You spoke about it many times, Wally, about value statements, mission statements. And that is working for me also in my personal life, because as you said, and Dave knows this better as anybody, the professional sport is extreme pressure and extreme influences from the outside, from many different angles. And it's very easy to get lost in that and to lose oneself as a person, as a spirit. Very easy to get lost. And so having those set of values for myself, working in that environment, super important. And I know that there was times, and again, you guys know that you have both coached in the Olympics, but sometimes, under that pressure, those values can get lost, and that's when the trouble begins. So I believe in that. No matter what is happening on the ice, no matter what's happening with the manager, my assistant coaches, my players, I need to have some values that are guiding my life, guiding myself. And a lot of it I've learned in Canada. Canada has been always a very strong country of values. The value of hard work, honesty, never being beaten, for example, no matter what there's no better country in the world than Canada in hockey, where you're down 3 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals, and you still come back. Nobody had that. We didn't have that in Czechs. The Russians didn't have that. Not too many games that the Russians were down that they came back from in the history of the game. But Canada, probably the best country in the world. So all these values are sometimes, I feel, in Canada are getting lost as well. I think the new generation is, I don't want to be too critical, the new generation is a little different, but yeah, so that's what I believe in, is having your own values, and then values as a team, as an organization, and then you live up to them, and results are not going to be You're not going to be so much up and down according to the results. It's easier said than done, believe me. Like, you guys know that as much as I do. You've been in those situations.
I'm just wondering, Dave, if you've got anything to add on that Thomas's statement in terms of, I guess, knowing your why. Why are you coaching, and the values and the importance of that.
Well, I think that Thomas's comments were really, all the comments were really good. I know coaching is, it's difficult at any level. And you may think coaching kids is simplistic, but there's issues there too. So for all of us in coaching, I think Thomas is correct. We just have to, you have to know that you're happy with what you're doing. You know what you're doing is right. It may not be always appreciated at this moment. I've always found in coaching, a lot of times the payback for the coach comes much later. I've had players approach me and say, geez, you know, I didn't know back then that you were doing that for me, but I guess you were, and I appreciated it. So, you know, that's the way it is. You have to have thick skin. You have to be able to believe in yourself. And the main thing I think is always to try to find some time for some balance in your life, so that you appreciate other things. Like when you go out and you're driving down the street and you see a person waiting for a bus and you're driving a car, you think, you know, like, take those things in. I mean, be alert, be open to what's going on around you. Don't just get super focused. I think a lot of us, because the nature of sport is there's a tendency to get very insulated at times. And sometimes we just go to the event and we become very narrow thinking. And I think we got to be very careful of that. So having a good coaching staff that balances you, having a chance to laugh and have a bit of fun, I still think that's probably the essence of staying with it longer and doing something very valuable for the kids.